let's give a 30-second warning. If everybody can take your seats, 30-second warning. Okay, never mind. 3-minute warning. They have to fix the microphone. We're having a technical difficulty that the team is working on at the moment. Thumbs up. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for letting us take a few-minute break. Welcome to the Gilbert Town Council meeting for August 23rd, 2022. I call this meeting to order, and we will have our invocation by Pastor Tim Thompson, who has sat here very patiently this evening. I thank you. Please come down to the podium, Pastor Tim. I appreciate you so much.
I do come and bring gifts. I have to push this.
Nailed it. Yes,
Nailed
please.
it.
Nailed it.
That was one of my gifts.
It was one of your gifts. If you could hand them, yes, please. Is that Renee sitting there? Yes. She will make sure that we get those. Thank you, Pastor Tim.
When you open them, you will find inside there's 2 pairs of dice. And so whenever I'm asked to come and bring the invocation, I always like to bring a gift with something that I feel from the Lord. And so interesting tonight, as I sat here for however long we discussed this, but what's in there is dice. And what I want to say to you is I feel like God was saying, give it a second chance. And so this year, as you go throughout your year, give things a second chance. Look at things again. Give yourselves a second chance. Give the community a second chance. And we'll give you a second chance if you give us a second chance. And so it was interesting the way the discussion played out. I know there's strong opinions in the room tonight. And but sometimes you just have to take a chance at things. You don't know how everything's going to turn out. I appreciate all of the due diligence that our town does for making sure that things go according to plan. And having traveled recently out of the country to Ecuador and other places, California, glad to be back in Gilbert where things function properly. And so thank you for all that you do. Thank you for listening to us. And a verse is Proverbs 24:16. It says, a righteous man falls down 7 times and gets up again. And I want to say it like this: falling down is on accident, but getting up is on purpose. And so I want to tell you, no matter what mistakes you've made, get back up, get at it, and continue on, because God says, I'm giving you second chances. And so I hope that helps you tonight as you have your discussion to broaden your horizon. And now let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this council, Lord. Thank you for what you are doing here in the town of Gilbert. And Lord, I pray that you would allow us the grace to be able to hear different positions and to be able to embrace one another, ultimately knowing that we love the place that we live, we love each other. And God, I pray that we'd be able to surround each other. I pray that you would give us the ability to be able to look beyond whatever our immediate concerns are or positions are. And that we would be able to hear one another and give one another a second chance. And whenever we do have to rely on something, God, I pray that we rely on you to guide us and to help us to make the right decision. I bless this council tonight. I bless this meeting. I speak peace over this place. God, that the rest of what they're discussing tonight would be heard, and that you would give us the ability and the bandwidth to be able to give each other the benefit of the doubt. I thank you, God, for making Gilbert such a beautiful place. Bless all of these people in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Councilmember Tilke lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance
Chevelle, you're standing in front of me, and we need you to do the roll call. Oh, Judy, could you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Amy Yentes.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Lauren Hendricks.
Present.
Councilmember Young Kaprowski.
Here.
Councilmember Scott September.
Here.
And Councilmember Kathy Tilke.
here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you, Judy. Are you practicing? Thank you. It's great to see you down there. Next, we have a management budget and presentation on the FY 2020, FY 2021 Valley Benchmark Communities Trend Report. And I see Kelly Fost standing at the podium. Are you going to introduce our presenter this evening, or are you presenting?
I am presenting today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. I know it's been a long day, so I will be very brief, but this is some fun information to present. The town works with the Valley Benchmark Communities, which is a group of 14 communities across the valley. We get together every year, compare information for benchmarking to help us all better understand our operations, how we might have opportunities for improvement, or what things we might be doing well. So we have, you might have heard it as the Valley Benchmark Cities. It was changed to Valley Benchmark Communities because Maricopa County was added into the group. So we've got some interesting information to share with you tonight. Let me switch to, I'll share several of the graphs, just some highlights from the report. You have the full report that was emailed to you, and it's also on our website for information. So the top line is the maximum of all of the 14 communities, the blue line. The bottom line, yellow, is the minimum of all of the communities, and then there's a green line in the middle, which is the median for the communities. Orange is Gilbert, so you can see on population change, we are usually changing population and growing about the middle of the pack, and that continued again last year. Buckeye was the top. They were growing the very fastest. Next, we have median household income. So for Gilbert, we are right there at the top. This last year, we actually are second. Queen Creek was a little bit stronger on median income than we were. For fire response times, you can see we're right there in the middle of the pack as well for how quickly we respond to those key calls. The increase from last year to this most recent year is fire listed. They had over 5% call volume increase, and then also some additional protective gear associated with responding with COVID makes their response times just a little bit stronger, but you can see very good response times compared to all of the Valley Group. The next one is crime rate per 1,000 residents, and it's hard to see this because Gilbert and the bottom line are the same. We are the lowest across the 14 groups. We have that lowest property crime per 1,000 residents. You'll also notice that the bar graph decreases over time, so our property crimes are continuing to lower. For the physical, this is a library services, physical item turnover, you will notice those last two on the most recent years are much lower than it has been in the past, and that is a result of COVID, lower physical item turnover during that period of time. But even Gilbert remains in a good amount towards the top end of the pack with our library usage. We've got Parks and Recreation Services. Gilbert was towards the bottom. We are improving, getting more towards the middle of the pack as we've added Gilbert Regional Park and Desert Sky Park and continue to build that out as our community grows. We are improving in that area. Next one, we've got our water and sewer services combined. Gilbert is right near the bottom for our water and sewer utility rates, which is great for our community there, very much below some of the other areas. For our percent of residential waste that is diverted through recycling, so how much of our trash do we actually send to recycling? You can see that there was a decrease right after 2019 when there was the change in the recycle market. That was felt by all of the groups. Most of them had a decrease, the max decreased, the minimum decreased, but Gilbert amazingly has stayed about at 20% through the entire graph. So really kudos to our citizens who are continuing to recycle and our environmental service groups who are helping make that happen. We have, I just want to recognize Janice Hart is our Valley Benchmark liaison from the town and subject matter expert here. We've got her if there's any questions as well, but happy to answer anything from the council.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for the team? Councilmember Silke?
Thank you, Mayor. Kelly, thanks for this report. I went through the entire report, and I'm just really pleased to be able to share with the public that we continue to have the lowest fees, taxes, and employee count, comparative to our other communities, yet provides the highest level of service. And so I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work of all the employees all across our organization that continues to provide that service at such a low cost to our residents. Thanks for participating in this. I think it's a great benchmark for us.
I look forward to this benchmark every year. To be able to compare ourselves to everyone around us is amazing. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Kelly, and thanks for sending it ahead of time so that we had the opportunity to review the whole packet. We appreciate that. Next, we will move on to our communications from citizens. Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Could I say something first?
Sure.
Is that all right? Couple of thoughts. First off, it was very appropriate that Pastor Tim prayed for second chances. I apologize to you all for blowing up. Those who know me know that's not me, so I'm sorry. But secondly, on the citizens' communication, we are going to be acting on some things on a regular agenda that may affect the comments you have. So we're thinking we can go ahead. I'm suggesting we either go ahead with communications now and put a time limit of 45 minutes on that, or we could go to the end of the agenda after you see the action we take. You may not even want to stay here and talk. I don't think I would if I were you, but after the action we take. So you may want to ask what their preference might be.
Well, and Councilman Anderson, we have 37 people who have indicated they'd like to speak, and I was thinking that we would limit the time to a minute, and so that would put us under your 45-minute goal,
That's great.
if the council's amenable to the time limitation.
Works for me.
Yes, and I believe that's part of the ordinance, that do we have the ability as a council to make that decision?
We do have the ability, communications from citizens does give us the ability to modify the time length. It literally says in our ordinance that we take 15 minutes for communications from citizens, but we've been taking much longer than that from every meeting recently. Councilmember September, Councilmember Kaprowski, any issues with the changes? Perfect. Vice Mayor, all yours.
Did you still want to proceed with communications first and then do the rest of our agenda, though? Okay. So I have them divided in people who've indicated that they don't want to speak, and I'll read off those names, and people who indicated that they do want to speak, and then I have two that I'll get clarification that haven't marked one way or the other. But first, just as a matter of protocol, we'll read our procedure for addressing the council, make sure everybody knows what the ground rules are up front, so we're meeting expectations. We value citizens' comments and input. Anyone wishing to speak must fill out one of these forms. I think everybody's a pro at that now. Before the beginning of this part of our agenda, this is your opportunity to address us on any interest or matter that is not on the printed agenda. Under the provisions of Arizona open meeting law, the town council is prohibited from responding to issues that have not been properly noticed. Therefore, the town council may only listen to citizens who wish to address them on non-agenda items. We regret that we will limit our response to basically responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter, or putting something on a future agenda item. So I'll call your name. You can come down to the dais. You'll have 1 minute to address the council. We do ask that you state your name and where you live for the public record. And again, we're just setting out the ground rules. If we could just refrain from clapping. We do try to maintain a level of decorum so that, our meetings run efficiently, but that also everybody feels like they can be heard and it doesn't quickly devolve into a disruptive meeting that can't be controlled. That's why we can be sticklers on it. So first, I'll just clarify the first two speakers, whether they'd like to speak or not. Mark Gartman. Okay, Mark, you can come down to the podium. And then Howard Steer, did you want to speak?
30, I think. Vice Mayor, could I just clarify that we do have an agenda item that's Transit Center Development Plan? So since it is agendized, is that what people should be talking about on communications from citizens?
Nobody's indicated that they would like to speak about that item specifically, and that's a consent item, and so we have the purview to put that off until the next meeting, which I think is the intention.
Okay, thank you.
Did we decide 45 minutes total, Vice Mayor?
1 minute apiece, and because we only have 37 people wishing to speak, we should come under that.
Thanks.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I misplaced my notes over there, so I'm going extemporaneously. My understanding, I know we're probably not going to have the commuter rail, but my understanding is the requirements for Cooley Station needs to be deemed as a hub, and part of that is being high density. I don't know if that's correct or incorrect. Assuming that's correct, I don't think it is considered high density yet. Is that accurate or no?
This is your time to address us. We can't respond.
Oh, okay. Anyway, if it isn't yet high density, and if that is a prerequisite.
Sir, you need to address the council with your comments.
Okay. And if that is a prerequisite to move forward potentially with a commuter rail, my understanding is it is not yet high density. So I ask myself, why are we discussing a study on a commuter rail when the prerequisites are not in place? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I did not hear from Howard Steer. Jesse Giroux. And then Christina Curso will have you on deck for your minute as well.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, having only 1 minute is very stressful for me, but had I needed to take an alternative mode of transportation to get here tonight, it would have been no less than 1 hour and 45 minutes on the bus with a transfer. And that could have been for any reason: high gas prices, lack of a car, disability, or medical issues that would prevent me from driving. The next bus that I can take to get home to Val Vista and Elliott isn't until 4:10 a.m. Data shows that underinvestment in multimodal transportation options make them difficult to use. So yeah, people in Gilbert and in the city are not bus riders right now. It does not mean that we are not valuing non-auto options as something that we want to see considered, explored, and potentially invested in here in our community. It's mind-blowing to think about the investment of time our community has to make to actually come to a public meeting space if it takes me 1 hour and 45 minutes on the current system. Good government wants to be able to collect data and pour over studies and weigh out numbers and risks, and I applaud that, but sometimes things are hard to quantify. So we need things like I just have to say that we need to fix and bolster our route transportations that we currently have right now. We need bus rapid transit systems serving high-demand areas like Heritage, Santan Mall, Freestone, Riparian, Library, the regional park, and public safety centers like this. We need to explore microtransit and flex options that are already being piloted nearby. And we need to start express options from Gilbert to other areas of the valley to like the state capital so our voices can be even louder.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Your minute is up. I appreciate it.
I appreciate the time, thank you.
Christine, and then after we'll have Leah Martineau, and then Jane Addams.
Christina Curso, I've been a resident of Gilbert for 15 years. What a great discussion we had. You may not have a say in whether or not commuter rail, or light rail, any kind of rail goes through Gilbert, but you absolutely have a say if it stops in Gilbert with a transit station. That's the theme of all of these residents' concern that I've talked to. That's the feasibility study. I ask that you consider supporting the entire ordinance that was very well worded tonight when you do in September. Mayor Yentes, Vice Mayor Yentes and I did put on and organize some meetings because people didn't know what was happening. These are the fact sheets. I have one for each of you since you couldn't come. People needed to be educated, and you already know the education. And finally, on your agenda item tonight for the Master Transportation Plan, you will be voting on page 474, which is the commuter rail. So if you plan to vote on that, please remove that page. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. My name's Leah Martineau, and I live in Queen Creek. I'm also on the Queen Creek Town Council as well. But I actually grew up in Gilbert, so born and raised Gilbert, and have moved to Queen Creek. I just wanted to come and voice my opinion and concern about this. There's so much to say, and I know we have very limited time right now. First, for starters, I was at the meetings that were planned. I was able to go with many of the Queen Creek residents as well, and they definitely oppose any type of commuter rail, whatever we want to call it, coming through Queen Creek, because we know that that is part of this. And one thing that and to clarify, Councilwoman Yentes was giving facts, very straightforward. There was no lies. There was nothing trying to sway anybody. It was a very well done meeting, so I will give her credit for that, and so I appreciate being there as well. But if I know anything, I do know that we need to stay ahead of the game, and this is on agendas elsewhere, and so bringing the attention to our residents and people that live around here is crucial to stay ahead of the game. Thank you for letting me be here tonight.
After Jane, we'll have Kevin Gallagher and Bobby Buckley.
Thank you. My name is Jane Addams. I live in Gilbert on Pony Lane. And I just had a couple of things come up while you guys were discussing. And thank you also, Amy Yentes. Thank you for bringing the ordinance up. And I realize that we can't know what you guys are going to do tomorrow to undo what you do today. But I really think it's a great point to at least go in that direction. That's what the people want. If you would make moves in that direction to at least that the things that go on with the staff in the back room and the things that come to your table, they don't even consider the idea of a rail. Like, that's why I think that ordinance is actually a good idea. And I think, oh, one other thing on the social media that was used in the presentation, it just says in there, be for Gilbert, vote yellow or something. And the way that it is said on that makes it sound like if you are for Gilbert, you will vote for the rail, right? And like somebody said that, like, the marketing, or like it's going to be manipulated to make it sound like the people of Gilbert are for the rail when actually they're not. And we could see it the way that it was on that social media post. So thank you. Sorry for the time. Yep.
Hi, I'm Kevin Gallagher, and I live in the south part of Gilbert. Madam Mayor and Town Council, I moved from San Jose about 3 years ago, and the fixed rail system there has been there for decades, and it's a local joke. They finally shut down the southernmost line, and it would run all day with no passengers. The system only returns about 9% of its operating costs. The ideal public transit system is a bus, not a fixed rail system. Buses use the same roads as cars, and they can have as many or few depending on demand. They can change routes if there's an accident or obstruction. So when you improve roads, you actually improve your public transit system. So please don't make the same mistake that other communities have made. Learn from their mistakes and vote down any rail project. Thank you.
After Bobby, we'll have Jim Torgerson on deck, and then Amy Hammond.
I'm Bobby Buckley. I had all of my notes together, and then after all the study session, everything seems to change. But I'm here because I do oppose commuter rail, light rail, transit rail. Transit rail covers all the rails, from what I'm told, and I definitely oppose that. I oppose any of the transit stations that are in the stop-drop stations. I understand what the purpose is, but I just don't think that Gilbert is the place to have them. I'm actually so confused now after the earlier session because we went through, as somebody else says, 20 years of planning for light rail or commuter rail or some type of rail for Gilbert. And now it seems that we're not going to have it. I'm told that, from what I got from the conversation, I don't know if we're going to get it, if it's coming later, but my opposition is I don't want that at any time. I'll let my children, my grandchildren decide that when the time comes. But I'm just really confused about this whole thing now. I don't know if it's coming, if it's going, if we're stagnated or where we are. But I definitely am opposed to that. And I think that some of the conversation that was against Amy tonight, I didn't personally appreciate that. And I don't think a lot of the members of the audience appreciated that either. She worked really hard
thank you,
to
Bobby.
get the information out.
I'm sorry, your minute is up. Thank you, though.
Mayor, Council, I'm Jim Torgerson from Gilbert. People want to be heard. They want to be talked down to. They don't want to be yelled at. They want to be heard. They haven't been heard. They haven't been heard for a long time. And when they hear the terms planning repeated and repeated and repeated, they assume something's being planned. Then you have the problems with things in page 25, wildly important goal. It's commuter rail. It's a commuter rail station. Oh, it's not important to anybody. We should just shut up and let you rule us. We should just shut up. I'm going to be up there the same as you in a few months. Guess what? Somebody wants to tell me I'm an idiot, I'm going to shut up and listen to them, because I probably am if they're up there actually saying it. So I am actually angry for people now. This has been so bad. They are asking for you to make the commitment that, yes, you heard them, that you will codify something that embraces their desire not to have this. And a future council, God save them if they want to undo it, but they can face it. So you know what? Yes, pander to them and give them what they want, and let somebody else take the bullets when they try and repeal what you codified. Thank you.
After Amy, we'll have Linda Rolls, and then Mike Stewart.
Hi, I'm Amy Holman. I live in Greenfield Lakes. I'm shocked to hear that many of these plans have been in place for 14 years, as the mayor just stated, when every yellow sign is a zoning change that is being voted on now with this council. We've been coming here basically since this mayor has been voted in to desperately try to save our town. But apartments and zoning changes are happening constantly, as the yellow signs prove. This commuter rail that no one wants, and it wants to even be studied, is most likely going to go through, even though we don't get much of a choice or a say in anything. And also, another thing, no one is talking about water. How are all these things going to affect the water supply? We are already on a tier 2 water shortage. With all these apartments and zoning changes, what are we going to do with water in 1 year? Stop wasting money on useless studies. Stop worrying about these things. And Mr. Anderson, for that money that we could be saving with the studies, give those to our fire and teachers so they can actually have, and police, so they can live in the communities rather than apartments.
Now, last week, I kept thinking about these people that you want to take their land from, and I find it very frustrating because we're not in New York City. We are Gilbert. We don't need fancy bridges. We don't need trains going through our city, and we should not be taking land from anybody. And you know, honestly, that I feel that if you want to continue on this route, anybody who agrees with it, we need to start doing recalls. I won't mind sitting there on Gilbert Road on a weekend telling people what you're doing, because I'm going to tell you what, when I went to vote this time, I recognized names. And I said, why do I know that name? When I saw that they were from the city of Gilbert and I don't like what's going on here, I did not vote for you. So you know what? Even if we can't get the recall, we can get people to remember your name. And if you want to move up into a different position in politics, they will remember you. So I'm sure that I have probably at least 100 people to sign a recall, but even if we don't get a recall, we will get you some name recognition, and it will not be good.
Thank you, Linda. Mike, after Mike, we'll have Andrew Martlick, and then Richard Young.
Excuse me, Mike, is the mic on? Push the button to make sure it's green. Thank you.
I guess I could just get right to the guts of it, because I thought I had more time, but you're all supposed to be up here representing us. It's supposed to be our voice. It's supposed to be the voice of the voters and the residents, and I believe the people here have spoken and are clearly expressing we don't want any kind of rail or any more apartments. At a minimum, I think, like Mr. Anderson said, to make it as fair as possible, we should let the residents vote on this, and each resident should vote on these two issues, and I call for whatever means allows for that.
Richard Young, Gilbert. I heard about all of these studies, and it sounds like almost all of them are sort of push studies, like push-pulls directed toward achieving a particular goal, a particular result. One study I didn't hear in there is human impact. In February, a court of appeals, federal court of appeals, shut down a big pipeline from West Virginia to Virginia because it was going to disturb the home of some rat or lizard. But nobody's doing anything like that for our home here. Council member Anderson said he hasn't heard or seen any statistics about crime associated with light rail. Has anybody asked for them? Has anybody asked for a study on the impact on the people of Gilbert if this light rail goes through? I've looked a little bit. It doesn't take very much. A friend of mine who works downtown emailed me after the meeting 2 weeks ago. My office is between the northbound and southbound light rail in downtown Phoenix. I can tell you about the homeless encampment and an increase in crime. I won't go to many of the stores on the railroad, and I used to have no issue going to. It's insane. Light rail will bring social blight for sure. That isn't misinformation, that's personal experience.
Thank you, Rich.
You can find it out. Don't go to some stuffed shirt in an office to study at a spreadsheet. Ask people. Ask the police. I did. I went to the Mesa Police Department.
Thank you, Richard.
I got this report.
Thank you, Richard. Your minute is up.
It's a problem. It's a danger. Don't do it.
Thank you, Council, for the time to talk to you this evening. My name is Andrew Matlick, and I'm from Gilbert for 7 years. I was born and raised in Metro New York City, an hour outside of Grand Central Station, and a mile away from a train station. That's why I'm here, because I live a mile away from downtown Gilbert, and I am vehemently opposed to a stop in Gilbert. Why? Because while I was living in Connecticut, I lived in a rough area, and that rough area was all around that stop, that Metro North stop into Midtown Manhattan. And over 30 years ago, I moved here to Arizona, to the Southeast Valley, to escape from that environment. So my time is up already, and I was set to talk for another 2 minutes. However, I've only got a minute. But I just want you to know that you would not want to live next to a train stop because they turn to shit.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
If we could have Mary Ann, I don't have your last name, wasn't put on your form, and then Karen Wood, then Mark Thompson, then Paul Hinkle. If we could try to limit our comments as close to that one. I know it's brief, but we want to make sure that everybody has that same allowance of time.
My name is Mary Ann. I live here in the town of Gilbert. Your first mistake is thinking that these 100 people just represent themselves. Most of us represent our neighbors and the friends and families who live here in Gilbert who can't be here tonight because they're babysitting our kids. They're at other school functions. They're educating the future of Gilbert in their own religions. I come here in their place. I was asked to be their voice. I hold in my hand our state constitution. As a rule of law town, everything that this group of you do, everything that passes in this city must be supported by our state constitution. The land grab itself is against our state Bill of Rights, Item 17, which limits the eminent domain. Thank you.
Nicely done, Mary Ann. Right on the dot. Karen?
Yes, my name is Karen Wood, and I live in North Gilbert. I've lived here for over 25 years, actually closer to 27 years. I have issues with the water. Some of the times when I open up my faucet, I have brown water coming out. And it's not just once in a great while. It's becoming more and more since I've lived here. I have never, in any other places I've ever lived, I've never had the problems with the water. I don't even drink my water. I have to drink water that I get somewhere else. I can't even drink my water. We're living in Gilbert. You're spending money on bike lanes, artwork for downtown and the Heritage District, and all kind of projects. What would make it look pretty? I can't drink my own water. Spend some money on that. I know you're now redoing some of the water things, but this stuff has been a problem for years and you have not addressed it. Another issue is I'm appalled at how Amy has been treated tonight. Really appalled. She tries to educate the people in the community about what her passions are and what she believes is happening, and that should be applauded and not ridiculed. And it's not the first time Amy's been attacked, because the mayor, I called you, actually, I left a message
Karen, your time
I left a message on the town phone one time, and I asked for someone to return my call, and you called me back.
Karen,
When
your
I told
time
you my
has
concern,
expired.
You attacked Amy Yentes by name on the phone call to me. You didn't even know I knew Amy, but I'll never forget it.
Mark Thompson, then Paul Hinkle, then Eric Natty, and then Terry Natty.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Mark Thompson. I live 1 mile south of the Heritage District. I'm a commuter to downtown Phoenix. I take alternative routes 5 days a week to go downtown, and I use it because I'm saving money on gasoline, especially when the prices was over $5 a gallon. Now, their transportation plan that you have in front of you, it's a great plan, but it's 85% for roads, 15% for trails, sidewalks, and then the transit. For the commuter rail, that was a regional plan. That regional plan is expiring in a couple of years. I would floor you to work with your colleagues at Valley Metro and MAG to extend that RTP plan and keep the commuter rail option open for suggestion, because it's in the general plan, it's in your redevelopment downtown heritage plan, and it's been talked about for the last 20 years. And as a volunteer with the general plan that was adopted by the voters, I put that in there as a fruition because it was a commuter regional plan, not local. It does not look like Mesa, Tempe's plans. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Mark.
Hello, Council. Thank you for taking my speaking. I appreciate the study session. I learned some stuff from it. But what I want to tell you is there may be no proposal for Gilbert Town Council to consider commuter rail, but we want to get in front of this. We want to tell you we don't want any discussion on it. We don't want anything to do with the commuter rail. No discussion, no nothing. Table it. Get rid of it. Last session, we had a record number, from what I understand, a record number of people that attended the meeting. We also had a record number of people speak. And according to Councilmember Anderson, well, we only have 100 people here. Well, guess what? These 100 people have other people they talk to, and those people talk to people. I'm a precinct committeeman. I talk to hundreds of people here in this community. So we all matter. Think about that.
Could you give your name for the record? Sorry.
Paul Hinkle, Gilbert.
Sorry, excuse me if I'm out of the order of people here. I'm pretty sure I'm next. My name's Eric Natty. I'm actually a resident of County Island inside of Gilbert. I've been here many times. I was afraid you'd miss me if I didn't show up tonight, so thought I would come down. There's a lot of talk about council communicating, council creating policy, council giving direction to staff. I really don't see it. I'm part of a group that our land is probably going to be forcibly tried to be taken for a wide road widening on Ocotillo. Last time I was here, I said 10 days to communicate with me on a plan of what's going to happen. Didn't happen, so nobody directed staff, nobody made policy, nobody gave direction, failure in leadership. And this is after David Fabiano lied to my wife about what was going on with frontages and all of that good stuff. So on that note, let me give some recommendations as far as a leader. You might notice I'm an executive chef. I've got a staff of over 1,000 at the campus I'm at. I might recommend not lecturing your students or your constituents like they're children, or rolling your eyes, and perhaps learn to be a leader and not have angry outbursts at them. Might help. They might have some faith and some respect for you, which seemed to be a subject tonight that was addressed. Have a good evening.
Good evening. My name is Terry Natty. I also live in a county island in the Gilbert planning area. 1 minute goes by really fast. So Ocotillo Road was posted, a widening of Ocotillo Road was posted 20 years ago, and I wasn't able to get ahead of it, but I'm here now. I'm awake, I'm paying attention, and unfortunately, y'all are going to hear from me for years and years and years. The votes for the Transportation Master Plan, the 2014, that was an insert in a water bill. I never got it. How are you guys going to get votes from the community? Real, true votes from everyone. People bring to you problems. I like it when people bring solutions. I brought to you solutions with the road widening. I have yet to get any feedback. I've been trying to get you guys to see eye to eye, sit down, have a conversation, and I've been trying since Mother's Day of this year. I'm not getting any feedback except for from Councilwoman Tilke, and I just want to talk to somebody, really talk.
Next in queue, we'll have Mary Ryan.
I really just want to take a second to address a question that was asked by you, Ms. Mayor, a little earlier this evening. And the question was, why do we sit up here and continually get disrespected? Through a process that I had learned over the years, I can tell you that answer. That answer is real simple. People don't respect people that they don't trust. It's a trust issue. And this tonight is very clear, it's a trust issue. They don't trust you. And unfortunately, you have people sitting on your panel, they do trust, but they get clumped into that little section called trust. If you want to talk about that any further down the road, you're welcome to call me. However, I also came here tonight to talk about a topic I was here about a month ago. That's with the kids that ride these scooters, motorbikes, and everything throughout parking lots. And let me tell you, I've almost hit several of them as I go to a shop, and I go to shopping malls. And we have a plague of this going on in this town. And one of them is going to get hurt. And I'm here to let you know that because I brought this to your attention now 3 times, that nothing's been done about it. And the next time it happens, and if a kid gets hurt or a kid gets killed, I'm going to make sure they all know that you were notified about it.
Can you give us your name and residence for the record?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Your name, excuse me, your name and residence for the record?
Mitch Cady.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ryan, after we'll have Caroline Lober.
Mary Ryan, a 28-year resident of Gilbert. I was here at the last meeting. I think the question I'm hearing throughout this evening is, where is our voice? And specifically, where is our local voice? I've heard that it's been referenced that we voted on things and that might have been a regional plan. I think it would be important for the council to look for that data to see what were the votes of the Gilbert people regarding these issues. In 2013, the resolution passed. It was affirmed and approved, the yellow route. But again, where is our local voice? When we had that passenger rail study, which came out in 2016, which was mentioned earlier, that was a statewide study. I would encourage the council to look for what Gilbert statistics were delineated from that study. It was mentioned earlier that they sought public feedback. Well, if that public feedback was tabulated, how much is enough? It sounds to me like we need a vote, or at least a good hearty town meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Marianne, I do that every time. Marianne Schwartz from Val Vista area. I am here. I heard commuter rail is a long way off, and I pray that it is. I do not want to see it here. I don't want to see what is happening here that has happened in Phoenix, Mesa. No, thank you. And when I brought this up to many people and showed them a flyer, they just laughed and they said, "We can tell you all about it. We're from the East Coast. We've had to put up with this." And they said, "No way." And we don't want any of the transit stations, and we don't want any stopping here and there. And again, I always talk about the buses that are empty. No, thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. After Caroline Loader, we'll have Lyanne Reed, and then Tyler Farnsworth, and then Mitch Cady.
Hi, thank you. I'm Caroline Loader, and I live in Gilbert. And again, I'm very nervous, and I only have a minute. So I guess what I want to say, a lot of things, but the main one is maybe when you're voting on things, just understand, try to put yourself in these people's position. How would you feel if it was your land being taken away? How would you feel if this commuter rail or whatever it may be ran through your backyard? And try to look at it that way. And I appreciate you listening to me and all of us. I didn't really appreciate being treated like a first grader, and like I got, the nun smacked me on the hand with her little sticky thing. I did not appreciate that. We're upset because you call us misinformed, like we're idiots. We're misinformed because nobody tells us anything. And our government's too big, and I see the same thing happening in my town, and it's sad. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leanne Reed. I'm a resident of Gilbert on a county island. I have grown up in Gilbert, lived here all my life. And I'm actually going to mix things up. I'm here to talk about the annexation. That's Article 14 or item 14 on your agenda.
Ma'am, you can't speak about that because it's a public hearing item. It has to be done at that point in time on our agenda.
Okay. I had that noted on my card and I was
That's
called upset.
it was my mistake.
Oh,
I'm so
she should
sorry.
be in
It
this
is-
pile.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Sorry about
Thanks for
that.
the paperwork.
That's later on in our agenda.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's just the rules. Sorry.
All right, Tyler, you're on deck. And then Mitch Cady, and then Rod Save, and then Jeff Manny.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, my name is Tyler Farnsworth. I'm a lifelong resident of Gilbert, and I stand today in opposition to commissioning a study on commuter rail. We don't need a study to tell us that manure stinks. It just stinks. I strongly support the ordinance barring town funds from supporting the furtherance of any sort of commuter rail or light rail projects within the town of Gilbert. We do study and understand, Mayor Peterson and Councilwoman Tilke. The passive-aggressive gaslighting is not appreciated. And don't feel bad, we aren't wasting our time. We're here because we want to be. We are willingly fighting for what we believe in. Don't demean those that show up, Councilman Anderson. We're here because we want to be. In the oath of office you all agreed to take when you took your spot on council, you swore to support the laws of the state of Arizona and the ordinances of Gilbert and bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Our own Gilbert Police Department recently found probable cause of a violation of ARS 16-1019A, a Class 2 misdemeanor against Councilman Scott Anderson for illegally removing campaign signs. He demonstrated a lack of decorum and violated his oath of office.
Thank you, Tyler.
Collins Councilman Scott to resign. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Mitch.
Hi, Council, Mayor. My name is Rod Save. I live in Lakeview Trails. The reason I wanted to talk to you is I'm against the light rail. Coming from the Bay Area, I've seen BART just change into a complete disaster. The light rail in San Jose. On Higley, where I live in Lakeview Trails, the traffic is so bad from the apartments there and we still haven't even added the other 2 major apartments you guys are building on the Higley and 220 right there. So I really think you guys need to take a deeper look at your expansion through the city. Thank you.
Jeff Manny, and then we'll have Trevor Cook and Marcus North.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Manny. I've been a citizen of Gilbert for 20 years, 20 years. I'm against the boondoggle for the same reasons that many have spoken about regarding the light commuter rail. Increased crime, vagrancy, and very likely increased taxes. Studies have shown these types of projects' operating costs far exceed the revenue in a majority of locations where they are implemented. I encourage the council to vote to strike future plans for commuter rail. As I understand it, there is a loosely worded contract regarding the development of the Cooley Business Center to connect it to Gateway Airport and ASU East. There are options in there such as bus routes and shuttle bus services that can be used. We don't need to use commuter light rail. Last comment I want to make is about the high-density apartments. My girlfriend, who's typically apolitical, recently made a comment to me in the last week about the orange and gray box eyesore about a mile north of here. More citizens are taking note and aren't happy with the development going on. Many are wondering why certain council members who vote for these apartments receive large campaign donations
Thank you,
from these
Jeff.
land apartment developers.
Thank you, Jeff. We have quite a few speakers left, so let's try and be expeditious.
I'll try and be as quick as I can.
Thank you, Trevor.
Okay, so thank you for letting me speak. I am a resident of Gilbert my whole life. I have concerns about this commuter rail study is because with this Cooley Station thing, I live like 5 blocks away from it, and I worry it's going to increase crime. And another reason why I don't see the need for it is recently the governor and the legislature approved part of the budget, I think it was last year or this year, where they're going to widen I-10 from Phoenix to Casa Grande, which is what we need. And I feel that sometimes, I just don't feel we're all being listened to on this commuter rail thing. Because the thing is, not only that, there's a high school near Cooley Station, same high school I went to. I don't want that area being infected with crime. That is my concern with this commuter rail. I think some members, I know this has been proposed for years and years, and I believe some people who are proposing it are doing it under the influence of developer donations. That's just what I feel, because that's a lot. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. But thank you for letting me speak.
Marcus, and then after Marcus, we'll have Brandon Rith and Dina Larson.
Good evening. Thank you for your service to our community. Marcus North, I live at Warner and Wrecker. I'm unfamiliar with a lot of the commuter rail stuff. My gripes center around my neighborhood. That intersection has been under construction for decades, it feels. The gut punch of 2 enormous warehouses and 2 more to come just at the entrance of my neighborhood is astonishing. And they're starting to fill the medians with asphalt instead of pavers, like they are in every other direction from that intersection. I wonder whose oversight of the developers is counting, if there is any, and if you're aware of those things. When I first sat down in the first 10 minutes, I heard a half a dozen denials that there are any plans or documents coming forth about the light rail. I heard it supported by a member of the council, and to me that says loud and clear that there's lots of plans in place and soon to come forth.
Thank you, Marcus.
Good evening. My name is Dina Larson, and I currently live in what they call Cooley Station. I'm the west side of Wrecker Road between Vest Avenue and Williamsfield Road. I'm coming here tonight to address you strictly in opposition of the transit station that's planned or in the developments for that intersection. And what I want to bring and raise the concerns and address Councilmember Anderson in regards to homeless and the crime and evidence on what comes with these transit centers. I would like to express and share what my daughter, who works full-time at the Maricopa County Medical's office, she deals with deaths specifically around these transit centers. She says that
We also have Brianna's statement here we can share at the council. Thanks. After Brandon, we'll have Roy Morales.
Good evening. Brandon Riff here. I know lots of people know the mayor struggles with the truth, so I'm here to bring about some facts. The mayor wrote a statement saying there are no plans, discussions, or any considerations to construct or extend light rail to the town of Gilbert. That's what she said. Now let's look at, I don't know if you remember, but February 15th, 2018, you, mayor, vice mayor at the time, and you, sir, Scott Anderson, voted to accept resolution 3955. And here's what it says. Gilbert agrees to use all reasonable efforts and authority to work toward development of a comprehensive public transit system, as well as the provision of a commuter and/or light rail, you could even get both, service along the Southern Pacific Railroad, blah, blah, blah. And Gilbert agrees that the transit sites shall be the primary location for a transit station in Gilbert. Total lie. I didn't get to any of my important stuff here, but you guys need the facts. The facts are Valley Metro ridership is down 2018, 2019, down 2020, down 2021, and crime is up. Look it up. City of Phoenix data, increased aggravated assaults and drug offenses from 2016 up, 2017 up, 2018 up,
Thank you, Brandon.
2019 up, and 2020. Stop pushing 19th century technology that nobody wants. You say you're data driven, prove it. Start telling the truth. And you, sir, you got to go.
We have 10 speakers left. We are out of the 45 minutes, so it's up to the council whether we want to extend this another 10 minutes to accommodate these speakers. Looking for council direction.
I would suggest extending. These people came here tonight because they wanted to address the council. They showed up here, they spent time, they've waited. I'm really disappointed that we cut them back to 1 minute. I'd like to extend.
Okay, so after Roy, we'll have Catherine Speaks, and then Ann Hawkins, then Joe Goetz, then Ronald Jones. We'll start there, and then there's just a few more. But let's keep it to a minute so we can get through everybody in 10 minutes. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you. My name is Roy Morales. I'm Gilbert resident. This gentleman just mentioned about this contract, Cooley Station in Gilbert, and did make reference to commuter rail and light rail. There's no misinformation here. I don't appreciate the fact that we were talked down as citizens. A lot of us are going to be coming here, and hopefully in the future, more of us will come here and voice our opinions. We were sleeping at the wheel, and we caught the government spending a lot of our money. You know, this feasible study for $300,000 is a lot of money. We don't need to do it. Commuter rail, light rail, whatever it is a dying technology. People are moving to cars, moving to airplanes and drones. You got to think forward in the future. Stop relying on 15-year-old plans. And we need to be able to change on the dime based on the temperature and the politics of the day. Listen to us. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm Mayor and Council. I'm Ann Hawkins, a 12-year Gilbert resident and a native Arizonan. As a citizen of America, I believe in representative government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The root of the issue tonight is that some of our representative council members and mayor will not listen to their citizens. They are willing to put private interests, private matters, private investments, and self-interests above the public good, the will of the people, and public service. I want to say that I support the ordinance proposed by Vice Mayor Amy Yentes against all Gilbert rail of all types. I support that, and I urge you to as part of the public good. Also, I'm against the Cooley Station as a major transportation hub. I grew up near the Greyhound bus station. As a child, it was dangerous, it was dirty. Let's not have a Cooley Station in Gilbert.
Thank you,
I'm
Ann.
also against private land being taken.
Thank you, Ann. Catherine.
Hello, I'm Catherine Speaks, a Gilbert resident of more than 28 years. I'm a precinct committeeman, captain, mayor, council. I'm against the light rail. You've ruined the hometown feel that Gilbert was known for around the state and the nation. Your reckless abandonment and poor planning shows up daily with multiple mega apartment complexes, for instance. Adding this monstrosity to the Heritage District will be putting the final dagger into the small hometown feel, which is why I moved to Gilbert in the first place. Your reckless incompetence has been proven time and again with no consideration for your constituents, i.e. the $500 million bond that was passed last year. We don't take kindly to carpetbaggers or faux Republicans. Fortunately, we are awake now and will not allow the council to continue with your unaccountable, feckless, and hapless spending with a lack of planning any longer. I ask you to remove page 474 out of item 12, and I support Amy Yenta's presentation earlier. And in conclusion, please get your heads out of the clouds and pay attention to your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Joe. And then Joe Goetz. Ronald. Okay. It's not marked on there.
Shall I go? I'm Ron Jones.
Please. And then we'll have Andrew Adams.
In our constitutional republic, your jobs as our elected representatives are to secure our rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You have no governmental or constitutional authority to create goods and services by establishing a light rail system. That is not what you were elected for. Your role is only to protect our rights. Some governmental representatives think that they can do that and get away with it, but that's not right. That doesn't make it right. One more reason why it's a bad idea to have the light rail is because you don't have the authority to do it. It's called government waste when you take our taxes and put them into a system that just loses more money than it gains every year. All the commuter rail systems are financial messes all the time. The proper approach is to let the free market work. Let businesses and investors decide if something makes financial sense and let them do it. You stay out of it. It's not right when leaders destroy our finances by putting us into situations like this that just cost us money. It's wrong. We will vote you out of office.
After Andrew, we'll have Jean Franks, Ginger Smith, then Aaron Accurso, then finally Kathy Puckett. And that should be all of our speakers.
Hello, everybody. Andrew Adams, Gilbert resident, chairman of Legislative District 14, Republican Party. First, I want to start by saying it's completely inappropriate for any of you to chastise Amy for having a meeting. All of us that had the meeting with Amy came to that meeting because based on what you provided, we all came to the same conclusions. So I think that was completely inappropriate. Furthermore, unless you've all registered back to Democrat, I think most of you are Republican. I personally invited every one of you at the last meeting to interact with us at our monthly district meeting, and none of you took us up on that. So to act like you're trying to get a hold of and speak with the public on a general term, I think is not true. Also, Scott Anderson, I'm curious how you can make the assertion that at times at a town council's attendance is at a record number and speakers are at record numbers, how you can make the assertion that what we're saying is not the general consensus of the public. It is. Your comments were disrespectful and they show just how much you value the time of these people who took the time to be here. You told us to get a grip when you currently sit on a council with a member that's under police investigation for theft, who, by the way, has made no comment on that particular issue. So we're respectfully again asking Scott September that you resign from this council, as your actions do not warrant sitting on that council any longer. Thank you for your time.
Jean Frakes. Oh, well, Aaron, you can come down and be our next speaker.
Gilbert Town Council.
Aaron Accurso, resident of Gilbert, 15 years. Yes, we may have voted the transportation plan bond in. Yes, we may have voted the master plan guiding documents for the town, but those are like omnibus bills on Congress. What we're focusing on is one item here that we completely disagree with, and we beg you, we ask you to get it removed after the fact that we've passed this other, we've approved this these other things. We're taking a sapling and pulling it out of the ground, a weed out of the ground, as opposed to letting it grow and grow and grow, and then it becomes uncontrollable, unable to be fixed. We pull it out early, get rid of it, and it doesn't come back. That's what we're trying to do with this commuter rail. And I think it's absolutely abhorrent that any one of you would admonish us, your constituents, for bringing ideas to the table and opposing other ideas. It is our responsibility as citizens to do that. It is your responsibility as our employees to listen to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Ginger Smith.
Hi, I'm Ginger Smith. I grew up in Chandler and I've lived in Gilbert for many, many years now. My husband and I are very involved in our community and we want to see it prosper. And we both now feel, I changed his mind actually tonight on this, about bringing in any sort of a light rail, commuter rail, whatever we want to call it, bringing it to our community is going to be bringing on more crime. And I'm sorry, I know you said that there aren't homeless people on the trains. That just tells me you've never ridden the train. I've had the misfortune of witnessing crimes. My children have had to witness crimes when we wanted to take the train because we were actually excited about it in the Tempe, Phoenix area. And never again can I ever take my children there. It's not safe, and I don't want to bring that to my children now. So that's why I oppose any sort of a rail system.
Thank you, Ginger. Kathy.
Hi, Kathy Puckett, Gilbert resident. First, I'd like to say that I am opposed to the commuter rail here in Gilbert. And the transportation studies, I see that there's a real lack of any source data referenced in all of the studies. And there's absolutely nothing on current ridership, yet they are projecting for 2040 what the ridership will be. My other items have to do with what is on the consent agenda, a couple of concerns, and also just trying to learn what something means. So the first one is on page 310 regarding the 911 call center. I don't know, that's an informal name, but it says verify the second floor framing is capable to support additional load. Was at the end of the?
It is, I'm sorry. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, could perhaps the chief follow up with her on that particular item to answer her question?
There he is. We can read these quickly into the record if, well, these are everybody who's indicated that they did not wish to speak. I'm sorry if I have a hard time reading anybody's handwriting. Bessie Manthel. I live in downtown Gilbert and very much oppose the commuter rail and any rail projects. It's waste for taxpayer money. Andrea Wolverton, 100% against light rail and the use of taxpayer money for this horrible thing. Thomas Welsh, no light rail stops in Gilbert. Ryan Schmidt, no light rail stops in Gilbert. Marshall King, we currently live less than half a mile from the railway. We are very concerned about increases in train noise, safety, home value, and property taxes. We believe these concerns are shared by many of our fellow neighbors. We plan to move if the plan is approved. Trish King indicated, please remove consideration of commuter rail from plan, concerned about noise, crime, and drop-in home value. When we bought our home 20 years ago, we were okay with the occasional trains, not trains every 30 minutes. This is not a case of build it and they will come. Mass transit not used in our commuter community. Cheryl Brown, opposed to commuter rail. Rita Sesha, my apologies, against the transients ghetto life you will subject all of us to. Mesa Light Rail is a dump. Gregory Miller, the commuter rail will be a terrible boondoggle, and it was and is in Albuquerque. I lived there while that rail line was started, a terrible waste. Jeff Lichter, commuter or light rail is not justified financially or by the probable light use of it. Gilbert should be suburban and not cityfied any further. Kenneth Days, no to light rail, stop selling Gilbert out. Christine Days, enough already, 40 years living here. This is suffocation, not progression, no to light rail. Guy Peruli, I do not want commuter rail. Paula Peruli, I do not support commuter rail in Gilbert. Pamela Ingram Mason, totally against any taxpayers' money being used for commuter rail, light rail, and intercity rail. William Heber, no regarding commuter rail study, etc. Brian Stoner, the commuter rail project, against the commuter rail project. I moved to Gilbert from California to get away from the big city life. Don't California my Arizona. Ray Chicas, commuter rail and any town money going toward feasibility or rail studies. She's opposed to that. Jenny Jones, I oppose the commuter rail, light rail, as it is not needed. It will destroy small businesses, raise our taxes, and our buses are empty. No to commuter rail, light rail. Sonia Pivarol, sorry, no, I'm no on rail station study. Stephanie Evans, or Evans, I'm strongly against the light rail in Gilbert. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars. John Caballero, against commuter light rail. Angela Poli, against commuter light rail. I'm completely against the commuter rail. No more taxes, the buses are empty, it's not wanted. Thomas Zimmerman, no light rail, no one will ride it, and a lot of mentally, people ride it. It was used, I'm so sorry, and many times to go to the I used it many times to go to the Diamondbacks games. Pam Goodmanson, I'm completely opposed to the light rail, commuter rail in Gilbert, Queen Creek, no more taxes. Frank Carolo, no to light rail, it will increase crime traffic with no net profit. Bruce Goodmanson, do not want light rail, commuter rail in Gilbert. This looks like an item 12. Oh, I think just opposed to item 12. 4, I am for the town council adopting an ordinance banning local taxpayer money being used to implement commuter rail in Gilbert. That was Kelly Casto. Sue Robinson, I feel the commuter rail is a poor option for Gilbert. It will be very expensive for the town forever. It will never pay for itself. Just because the government would give some money to start this project does not mean we should accept it. It would put us on a path that would just take us down. I am against it. Karen Mountford, I'm against spending money even studying this project to the rail. And then Tim Shalick, opposition to light rail, and Amy Peterson against the commuter rail. And that is, everybody's accounted for, I think.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to make a comment, something that I was made aware of. I think some of you heard some noise from the back of the room while we were listening to communications from citizens. I'm not responding to communications from citizens, our town attorney. I just want to mention that one of the speakers that spoke for transit ideas and for transit options was harassed out in the lobby by somebody that is opposed. And somebody had to step in and separate those ladies. I just wanted to say, please, I'm asking, begging, to be respectful to everyone, their choices, their opinions, their decisions. It's happening, it's real. I'm not making this up. It's happening, it's real. It happened this evening in the lobby. I'm asking everybody to please be considerate of everyone else's opinions. Just because we don't agree on things doesn't mean we have to be mean and nasty to each other, please. Thank you.
We'll now consider the consent agenda items and obviously pulling item 3.
Mayor Peterson, may we take a break to test your voting? You're fine.
Yeah, Chevelle asked me if we... We have to take a break to reset our computers so that we can actually vote.
Good luck to you.
Okay, everyone, if we could take our seats, we'll come back to our next item on our agenda. If we could take our seats, please. Let's get back to this meeting so we can get moving forward. We appreciate the time out. Moving on to the consent agenda, Vice Mayor.
Yes, the only items I have indicated to poll is item 3, 10A, and 12. Were there any other items that we missed? If not, we can entertain a mass motion for the approval of item 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10C, 10D, 10E, 10F, item 11, and item 13. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 3, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This item is the one that's been discussed at length this evening, which would be the a contract for a study for an integrated transit center. I think staff has heard a lot of discussion about this, and potentially, if and when it's brought back in the future, that we look at this in a different way, maybe look at different contractors, look at specifically what we're looking at for transit centers, potential transit centers in the town of Gilbert, if and when those get discussed. So I want to request, we've always used continue when we've done a date, but this week I was told that I can do continue even without a date, but I want to table this item. So I move that we table this item. That way we don't have to do a date certain. It'll be to the future. I've heard from a lot of residents that that's what they would prefer, and possibly be able to bring it back next year when we have new members on the council. So I've made the motion to table.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 6-1 with Vice Mayor Yentez dissenting.
Then item 10A, I pulled that so I can have a separate vote, so I don't have to support items that take federal grant money.
Did you say B when you made the motion?
No. Well, yeah, I said B as a part of the mass motion. So if there's a motion, opportunity now to pass 10A.
We're making a motion for 10A.
Just 10A.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can we get a second? We have a motion on 10A. Did we have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Too
take
long of a
over.
break.
I didn't mean to
Nobody-
take over, sorry. When you pull things, I think I should.
Item passes, approved. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit surprised. 3-4. Item 12. This item was pulled off the consent. I don't know if anybody wants any further additional presentations or if we just want to discuss, make comments, and then make a motion.
I think we want to discuss, I'm sorry, Mrs. Accurso, we don't take public comment on consent items. We heard a lot about this transportation master plan during our communications from citizens this evening. We heard a couple of times to remove page 474, and I went back and pulled it up, not realizing it was 474 out of our entire packet. I was looking on the transportation master plan itself for page 474 and couldn't find it. So I went back to the packet. I am concerned personally, and I'd like to know what the other council members think, if we pull page 474 out of this document, that we're not being transparent about it. I would consider rewording the last paragraph of this page, but I think to remove the page completely from the plan gives the wrong impression. And we're trying to be as transparent as possible and trying to include every piece of information that's out there for the public. It doesn't mean that we are voting for commuter rail, voting for light rail. We don't want light rail. I vehemently am opposed to light rail. If we pull this page out that talks about all the studies and plans that have been done in this region, we're giving a false sense of information, I believe. That's just my thought. So I'd like to know what anybody else thinks about this.
I would certainly support removing that, but my position's clear. My issues with this document have been fully expressed in the last couple meetings.
All right.
Councilmember Kaprowski.
As a transportation engineer, I have a background in planning and engineering roads and trails in Arizona for the past 15 years to make them more efficient and safer. Transportation engineers, we plan roads, we design traffic signals, we also design bikeways and trails and sidewalks. And with my knowledge and background, I've been able to bring a unique and valuable perspective on town council, where a large portion of our budget expenditures go to roadway projects. As a citizen, I enjoy driving on smooth roads and traveling freely in a reasonable amount of time, much like most of you probably do as well. I believe everyone in the community, though, deserves safe and reliable transportation choices. My children are 9 and 7 years old. They enjoy being active and riding their bikes to school and parks. Some family friends of mine in town have 5 children and only 1 vehicle. So the father has to skateboard to his work at a Heritage District restaurant to support the family. When my late father-in-law required at-home medical care, those caregivers used the transportation system to get there. And everyone in this room, and everyone who was here earlier tonight as well, was a pedestrian at some point on their trip here tonight. I advocate for safe multimodal transportation systems because it helps to mitigate traffic congestion amidst our rapid growth. It benefits children, it benefits all people in the community, and enhances our quality of life. Gilbert currently has over 270,000 residents and is expected to grow to around 330,000 within 7 years. As policymakers, we as council members and the mayor are responsible for identifying and securing transportation funding for town projects. We will continue to set the vision and policy for town staff to follow concerning the allocation of our transportation resources. Our transportation system doesn't change overnight. It takes vision, innovation, commitment, and investment. The proposed 2022 Gilbert Transportation Master Plan identifies the needs in our community and also prioritizes these projects so that with limited funds, we can achieve a big impact. I definitely heard the residents tonight and in our past meetings and would propose the following 2 minor adjustments to the plan in order to detach any recommendations for commuter rail studies from the Transportation Master Plan. This would include removing the last paragraph of page 143, which is packet page 474 under the title Commuter Intercity Passenger Rail, as well as revising the last line of section Mobility Hubs on appendix page 16, packet page 901, to remove the commuter rail reference and replace with future transit projects. After a 2-year planning process that included robust community engagement and multiple council touchpoints, I urge you to join me in adopting the 2022 Gilbert Transportation Master Plan and Transit Study with the proposed changes to be used as a guideline for developing a transportation system that provides safe, quality service to all citizens.
Councilmember Kraprowski, could you just repeat the change that you were recommending on page 901, please?
Yes, I did a search for commuter rail in the entire document just to make sure there was nothing that had any kind of recommendation that tied into commuter rail. And on packet page 901, which is an appendix page, it says 16 on that page, it's titled Mobility Hubs. And the very last line on that page talks about tying in mobility hubs to a future commuter rail or bus rapid transit project. And so I'd like to replace that with just future transit projects.
Thank you, Councilmember Kraprowski. Any comments about the pages specifically that have been called out and or the plan itself? Councilmember Anderson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make one comment into the record that was written. I was on the fence about this plan for a long time, and we all received an email from Jim Wright, who served as the chairman of the Citizen Transportation Task Force. And what he had to say was very appropriate, I think, about this plan in general. It's a quality of life issue. Gilbert has a unique quality of life. And he said, I read the Gilbert Transportation Master Plan and Transit Study as a guideline that can be used to enhance people's mobility options, to support their individual needs and conditions. The plan as presented is inclusive and designed for a future that uplifts all citizens and visitors, not just the fortunate that are able to drive. It is essential that a community's mobility program be accessible to all its residents, not just those that can afford or have the physical and mental abilities to purchase, maintain, and operate an automobile. And I agree with him that it's a quality of life issue, and I think elements that we have in this plan address that and we're responsible to provide the infrastructure so that we can continue to offer that unique quality of life to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Anderson. Councilmember Tilke?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few comments that I'd like to share. First of all, I think I mentioned at our last meeting that this plan provides an overlay of all our roads, trails, bikes, paths, et cetera, and connects it to all of our capital improvement projects already on the books, and then identifies potential projects for the future. This ensures staff is evaluating all projects at once and provides the opportunity to save money and time by combining efforts to improve safety between routes and fill in the gaps. I I believe 90% of the funding in the projects in this document is dedicated directly to roads for vehicle travel, safety, and congestion relief. So if that percentage is way off, if somebody will come up and correct me as I go on, I'd appreciate it. Is truly a plan focused on moving car traffic first and foremost, with an emphasis on safety for all travelers. Today, I believe the bike community just learned about this transportation program, and if you've checked your emails just today, we received more than 35 emails asking us to please incorporate safety for bicyclists in this plan, which I believe we've done. A section that I really like of the plan is the trade-off sections outlined. And I think in some cases people have viewed that as a dictation or a direction, when in fact it is providing those unintended consequences that we need to evaluate as these projects come forward. And I've never seen a plan before do that, because sometimes we find out those unintended consequences after the fact, and some of that was some of the conversation we had earlier. So the fact that some of those negatives are called out allows us as a council and staff to make good decisions and make sure that we are looking at any negative impacts that come from those decisions that we like. So I'll just say to the group there, thank you for including those in this document. It's a guideline to promote proactive evaluation of current and future transportation commissions within one document, and I think that's important. All projects must follow the current method of council approval prior to moving forward. It gives the tools to make sure priorities in a 360 view is given to the entire system before bringing those projects to council and the public. And I appreciate that effort, because there are a lot. I'm not an expert in transportation and infrastructure. And so to be able to have that called out for me to question in addition to what is bringing forward is important to me. I would support the changes that I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember who brought it up first. Councilmember Kaprowski presented. So I know other people want to speak, but when we're done, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions for staff, anything?
I'll just make one final comment. Obviously, my position hasn't changed. I appreciate getting the emails from people who are, avid cyclists. I'm not opposed to, reasonable measures to improve safety for cyclists. That makes sense. There's some things that I've heard that sound like reasonable solutions, but I think fundamentally what this plan lacks for me is the backup information, the statistics that are if we're saying that our goal is improve safety for all users, because we actually have pretty safe streets and we don't have too many conflicts between these various users of our network. It's incumbent upon us to inform those policy decisions with the actual data of what's happening when we do have either serious injuries or fatalities, and I don't see that as the foundation of this particular document. So that's a frustration for me. I do feel like the more the communities have moved towards this methodology, and I always say that because I did some research. I pulled other transportation master plans. I pulled Portland's. I pulled a couple of cities in California. I pulled one in Oregon. I tried to get a cross section and see where the commonalities were, and there's a very strong. It's not surprising. A lot of this comes down from organization level, and they get adopted and disseminated across cities across America. So it's not surprising to see all those similarities between various city's transportation master plans, despite them all being in different contexts and communities and demographics. So I look at that and I see that this is a push in a direction that I don't think is going to fit all of Gilbert's needs. I love having a canal system that removes conflict between users. I am somebody who just common sense thinks it's safer to ride a bike on a sidewalk than it is in a bike lane. What I think is an intentional bringing all these uses in the same space does create conflict. And so I will be interested to see how these stats change over time as these policies get implemented, and whether we have fewer fatalities. I think I brought up the last meeting, the trend that's been going down, and that's easy to do when you only have 6 and it goes, or 8 and then it goes from 7 and 6. So, that's a good thing. And, I hope that I'm wrong. And I hope that, that this does improve safety, even though I think that we have a very safe network. So I don't want to deviate standards too much, because we actually have something that seems to be working pretty well. Not that there isn't room for improvement. So I know I've said my bit on this, so.
Any other comments? Councilmember September?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I'll make it quick because it's getting late, but I had some concerns originally about this. There was a rewrite that staff did. I still had some concerns, and my concerns centered around, I felt like there was a disproportionate focus on multimodal and other forms of transportation versus streets in the actual TMP itself. And but it's a 200-page document practically, and it comes with appendices that are almost 200 pages worth of appendices. And so I spent some time and I dug into the CIP portion, the financial portion of where monies would be spent, and there is, in my opinion, a fair, more appropriate amount of money that will be spent on improving our roads, which was what everybody wants. That was in all of the surveys. There were, 5,000 people visited the website, 2,000 people answered the surveys, and I feel like there is an appropriate amount of funding that is for improving our roads, improving the travelability of our roads, and the safety of our roads, and I think all of that is important, and there is plenty in there to cover our multimodal bike paths, the multimodal trails, and the safety crossings. So I'm satisfied with the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember September. This is now the 3rd or 4th time we've seen this document, plus we've all done 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s with staff. Any other comments from anyone? And if we request to have the changes made that Councilmember Kaprowski mentioned this evening, I think that it would alleviate some of the concerns with the page about commuter/rail. Commuter passenger rail is much different than light rail that we see in Mesa, Phoenix, and Tempe. We are not in any way planning any light rail ever in the town of Gilbert. We have to prepare this community for if someday passenger rail comes down those rails. And we have to let the community know that it is a potential topic, but it is not a topic for this council. We are not bringing commuter rail to this community, but it's still important that it is discussed so that people know that it's out there and that it exists. I think that's what we've heard over and over again, is that people didn't know about it. And if we take it out of the plan, I'm afraid that we're increasing that lack of knowledge, that you won't know that it is discussed in a regional manner. That's my opinion. I have to look at this from all the people that I speak with in the community, all the conversations that I have, and the best way to communicate what's going on in the community. I would be in favor of removing that final paragraph on page 474 and the other change recommended by Councilmember Kaprowski, and moving this plan forward at this time. I would be happy to take a motion from someone.
I'll move to approve item 12 with the changes discussed.
I don't want to complicate this, but I'd like to, can I amend that?
Yes.
Or add to that motion?
You can, and then Councilmember Kaprowski would have to agree to the amendment.
The only addition that I would like is that we include a commitment statement within the plan that any future integrated transit studies will include a robust and meaningful community involvement component, that it's just stated within the plan.
Is that the last paragraph of page 474?
Pretty much, but worded differently.
Yeah, that says transit center planned, and I'm not sure. I'm not talking commuter rail, I'm talking about transit.
We're talking multimodal transit opportunities. Yes, not rail in any way, shape, or form.
So instead of removing the last paragraph of packet page 474, we're going to revise it to just talk about transit and talk about community engagement as part of the process.
I was thinking it could be whether in an introduction or any other place. I don't think I want it listed under commuter rail because it indicates that that's what we're discussing. I'm just talking about any transit studies.
Does it say it at the beginning of this transit study already? Trying to go back to the beginning. Typically, our plans all have a component to them, and I just can't remember.
Are we supposed to do something here, Chris? You're looking nervous there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just procedurally.
We have a motion.
Well, Councilmember Kaprowski made a motion, there was no second. So you moved to amend that motion, but there was really no motion. So right now, there's no motion on the floor because there was never a second.
I will second, but then can I move to amend it?
You can second that, and now you can move to amend that motion.
Thank you.
And then the vote will be whether to accept your amendment, and if so, we go back to the original motion as amended. Make sense?
I feel like Victor's back.
I know. Right. So do we need to, she made a motion, I seconded.
Yeah,
Do I
so
need
if
to
you want to
repeat my
move to amend and then make sure that's stated clearly, and then if there's a second, there'll be a vote on your amendment.
Okay. So I'd like to amend your motion to include a commitment statement up front. Let's just do that. That any future transit studies will include a robust and meaningful community involvement component.
Second.
We vote on that.
You're voting on that to see if it amends Councilmember Kaprowski's original motion.
Please vote. Motion passes 6-1 with Councilmember Hendricks dissenting.
So now the motion on the floor is Councilmember Kaprowski's motion as amended just now. So another vote.
We have another vote. Councilmember Kaprowski's motion with Councilmember Tilke's second.
This is the adoption with the changes, including
Thank you.
Councilmember Tilke's changes, yes.
Please vote. It's late and I'm tired to make all that sense. Motion passes 5-2 with Councilmember Hendricks and Vice Mayor Amy Yantez dissenting. Moving, thank you. Now we will move on to the public hearing section of our agenda. We just have one item on our agenda this evening, and I have Joe Getz. Did you wish to speak? Yes, okay. And this is the item that you wish to speak on? Item 14? Okay.
Are you asking him to come down?
Yes, I'm going to I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'm going to ask the 2 members of the public that wish to speak to come down to the podium, and we'll give them 3 minutes on the clock. Thank you, Dawn. Oh, she has to reset it. Joe Getz, please, and Leanne Reed, please. And just give us your name and town or city of residence, please. And thank you for waiting.
I'm Leanne Reed.
Make sure that's on. Just push the buttons, make sure the light turns green.
I'm Leanne Reed. I've grown up in Gilbert. I currently reside in Gilbert on a county island. And I'm opposed to the annexation of the property listed here in the 14. I really feel that it's going to have a strong impact on my quality of life as well as my family's. Gilbert's been known to be an agricultural area. I mean, that's where the roots of Gilbert. It was a farming community. It was the hay capital of the world at one point in time. And everything in the city life is encroaching. I moved there so that I could have my farm animals and, my distance between my neighbors. And now, without any choice of mine, I'm getting an overwhelming amount of neighbors piled on top of me if this goes through. I know the next step. If you guys annex it, then they're gonna get it rezoned, and it's gonna be piled full of rentals. And I'm just, honestly, I feel like Gilbert is just after the money grab for this. Whatever tax revenue they can get out of these rentals. And they're not thinking about the long-term residents or their quality of life. It's about the money. And I'm just disgusted to see how Gilbert's gone with all the apartment complexes and the whole change of the town. When I grew up, there was one street light in the whole town. We could ride our horses into Jim's Dairy Bar and, hitch up out back and get an ice cream. Nowadays, I'm afraid to send my kids out on their bicycles because there's so much congestion, so much traffic. I mean, you guys already allowed the school to go in there on Val Vista. And I can't even pull out of my own neighborhood. When it's 3 o'clock, it's insane there. Try driving down Val Vista at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Good luck. It's a nightmare. And now they're encroaching on our street because there's not enough parking at the school. They're parking down our residential street. It's a private street. And this new development's just gonna add to that encroachment on our neighborhood. There'll be people coming from over there to access the trail systems, going through our neighborhood. They'll be bringing I get it. I mean, they'll be bringing their children or people they know into our neighborhoods because we do. We have the donkeys and the chickens and the pigs and the goats and the sheep, and they'll bring them in like we're the little personal zoo to them. And I get why they do that, but at the same time, it's our private lives. We don't want that. So I just really ask you to stop and think about before you just annex this in. I mean, you guys can put a stop to this. So that's all I've got to say. I'm just really opposed to it. And I hope you consider the long-term residents.
Thank you, Leanne. The school actually built while it was in the county, and the town had no say over it building, and then annexed into the town. And schools can build on any zoned property that they want to in the state of Arizona. Schools and churches can. And so the town really had no say in the traffic. I know is a nightmare there. I go by quite often.
But you do have a say in this.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you. My name is Joe Getz. I'm in the same area we just spoke about, and it's a shame what's happening out here. I spent some time talking to the county recorder yesterday, and he said they'd never rezone the property like they want to do. We have an R43, 1 house, 1 acre. We have horses, we have cows, we have chickens. We have a little piece of heaven out there. And now the builder's gone in there and bought these properties up there, and instead of 1 house per acre, it's putting 138 units here. And it's not right. And then they're annexed into Gilbert, not because they want to be part of Gilbert, because Gilbert will give them the zoning that the county won't give them. And that's wrong. Gilbert was such a wonderful community. It was born by farming. And to have all these apartments go up, and they're all over town, but right here in the street, traffic would be just like just a couple blocks from the school. It would be terrible. One exit to come out. The rentals, they're going to be, as they say, coming over the property. When they tear up this property, as they did with the school, we didn't even know about the school. I was surprised. It's just the bulldozers just showed up one day. And the same thing here. They're saying they've contacted all us. Nobody knew this was going on. This is supposed to be the 4th hearing where we have a public hearing, and apparently we never knew it. They're supposed to send out first-class letters, as they said. They didn't do it. A handful of people have no idea that this is going on there. And then the public meeting or Zoom meetings where our neighborhood, we're all over 70. We don't have Zoom. We don't know how to work something. I have a rotary phone on my desk. That's not the way to have a public meeting. This has to be put off until people are involved. Let the neighborhood know this is going on. There'd be everybody here, there'd be in crowds. It's a shame that we have to do this like this, but this is so wrong. I wish I don't know how to, I'd love to put something up here, show you the neighborhood, show you the cows, show you the horses. How it's what Gilbert used to be, and it's not now. And these apartments right next to it, there's no reason. Some guy with deep pockets, spending money, making money. They don't live in the neighborhood, they don't care. We don't need this. Leave the neighborhood like it was. Once again, the annexation is just so they can get it rezoned, and maybe they figure they got people in their pocket. I don't know, but it's a shame that it has to happen this way. This rezoning has nothing to do with wanting to be part of Gilbert. It has to be with wanting to get the zoning changed from an R43 to multifamily. So, said my piece. Thank you, and thanks for the 3 minutes instead of the 1.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for coming out this evening. Our planning team, can somebody answer a couple of questions about this? This is an annexation. We're not discussing rezoning this evening. Oh, new guy. Sorry. Just kidding. Your first time at a council meeting?
Mayor, Council, I will introduce Noah Schubert. He has been the planner, he's a planner too with the town. He's been working with this annexation case, so I'll let him give you some of the details of the project.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Noah.
Good evening for the first time.
Good evening. The property is just in for annexation this evening, correct?
Yes, and in fact, this is an initiation hearing for an annexation. So there's multiple hearings that take place for an annexation. Just to very quickly review you on the process, there is they had to file a blank petition with the town, and there's a waiting period involved with that before they can collect any signatures. There is this hearing, which happens towards the end of that waiting period. It's an initiation period. It's an opportunity for you to learn about the project, ask questions, for the public to respond, and I'm thankful for the members of the public who are here. When that 30-day waiting period ends, which I believe is September 4th for this project, it then goes to the opportunity for the applicant to collect signatures, and then it comes to a second hearing for a decision by the council. This is not a rezoning or general plan amendment case or a design review case. You will have the opportunity to review any of those cases once the annexation is filed. The annexation is only about bringing land from the county into the town. It will have to be rezoned and brought into general plan categories that are in accordance with the town, for example. But for example, if they come and recommend a certain zoning district, you do have the opportunity to debate that and make a decision about that at that time.
Thanks, Noah. Any comments or questions from the council?
Yeah, Mayor. Noah, have you had any conversations with Maricopa County planning staff about this, or would you, when an annexation like this takes place, would staff typically talk to the county at some level about this process?
We do maintain a pretty close working relationship with Maricopa County. At this time, I haven't talked to them, especially given that we're fairly early in the annexation process as well. Most of the conversations I've had have been through just the recorder's office and through just the bodies who are necessary to record and file documents.
Thank you, Noah. And it's a little late, so forgive me if you already answered this, but what you said, it's a multi-tiered process for annexation. This is the first step. Do any of the subsequent steps include a public hearing?
The subsequent steps do. So again, this will come back as a public hearing item then in once the applicant has collected signatures. And then additionally, obviously, any future process, zoning, general plan, design review, anything like that would be subject to public hearing as well.
Is the applicant required to collect a specific number of signatures within a physical area? Like where are they going to get their signatures, and what are those signatures going to mean to us?
It's the property owners who ultimately sign the petition.
The property owners who are in the piece that's being annexed,
Right, in
or
the piece
property
that's
owners
annexed.
beyond that?
In the piece that's being annexed.
And I'm sorry, did Mrs. Reed, is she in the part that's being annexed, or is she off of that, outside of that?
She lives off of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Noah.
Yes.
She lives close by.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Noah. I learned something new tonight. I didn't realize that was the next step in it. We haven't seen an annexation in forever, so I didn't remember that step. Thank you for the signatures and then coming back again. This is just an initial kickoff to actually then let them advertise this to the neighbors that are close by, essentially.
I have one more question, Mayor. I'm sorry to belabor this. I know we'd like to go home. Noah, was there any public notice that was part of this portion of the annexation process?
Yes, there was still signage and neighborhood postings that were necessary as required by the Land Development Code to notify nearby residents and people passing by the property that this hearing here was taking place.
Thank you.
There's 3 signs on the property right now.
The 4x8 yellow?
Yes, the yellow signs.
I saw one on Val Vista today. Yes, Councilmember Anderson.
Noah, have you seen any preliminary plans at all from the developers that they could share with the neighbors at this point? I know it's very early, but sometimes they share some ideas or thoughts.
Yes, so there have been neighborhood meetings that have taken place. I believe there's been 2. There was one that happened a couple months ago, one that happened actually before my time with the town. So unfortunately, I'm not all that clear on the details of that neighborhood plan. So development plans were shared with residents at that time, and then there are conversations about there's a design review case, for example, that's active with the town. However, that can't go forward until there's an annexation and a general plan amendment and a rezone to support that. So it's a long way off, but there is a development plan that's very preliminary that could be viewed.
Good. I'd encourage the developers to stay in touch with the neighbors.
Yes.
I know they will have to as you go through the process, but the more the better.
Yes, and in the neighborhood meetings, there was a lot of comment about effects on residents, particularly to the south, who came out to the neighborhood meeting. So the preliminary designs have started to take into account measures to mitigate the impacts on those neighbors to the south, particularly drainage and then noise and site impacts.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Noah. Great job for your first time at council tonight.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for discussion and or motion. Did I say close the public hearing? Oh, we don't need a vote. Oh, this is just a kickoff. See, we haven't done an annexation and I can't remember the last one. Boy, thank you. Then we have officially kicked off that annexation process. Doesn't even require a vote by us this evening. We'll move on to administrative items. Boards, commissions, and committees, reports from council. Anyone have any items to report for boards, commissions, and committees? Seeing none. Future meetings and communications from town manager. Sitting in, Dawn Prince.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Just one item. We have an employee that is retiring, so I want to just read a little bit about his service with the town. After 25 years of service to the citizens of Gilbert and the Gilbert Police Department, Lieutenant John Lyle will be retiring at the end of this week. Lieutenant Lyle has served as a police officer, detective, sergeant, and lieutenant in patrol, SWAT team, criminal investigations, state gang task force, employee wellness and professional standards. His expertise and dedication will be missed, and we wish him the best of luck in his retirement. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dawn. We wish you the best of luck in your retirement. Congratulations on so many great years with the town of Gilbert and Gilbert Police Department. Any report from council on current events? Councilmember Tilkey?
I know. Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Vice Mayor for the dialogue that we were able to have in a public setting, and I just wanted some answers that I was hearing rumors about, and so I didn't feel like I was attacking you, so I don't think you've thought that. You and I have been in the lobbying type of profession for a long time, and perhaps a healthy dialogue sometime may appear to others that there's an attack, but that was never my intention. I just wanted to understand the facts because I was hearing different stories, and so I appreciate that. You and I met a couple of years now, I guess. It seems a long time ago, but one of the things we talked about was the importance that on the dais we can have meaningful conversations and actually bring more to the public, and I think that's what we've done. And so I just want to say I appreciate the ability to have those conversations.
I think it's important to note that we can't sit and discuss things, the seven of us. It was said by somebody earlier that if we have a comment or a question that we want to talk about with another council member, we can only talk to two people. And then they cannot go off and talk to anybody else. It becomes an open meeting law violation. So this is our only chance to sit with all seven of us to discuss anything that comes before us. So we have to take that opportunity when we're here to be able to have those conversations. I just have a couple things to report, and I know it's late, but I think they're important. Last Friday, the Gilbert Police Academy Class 2 graduated 32 officers for 7 agencies, including Gilbert PD with 15, Queen Creek with 1, Yavapai County Sheriff with 3, ASU PD with 3, Avondale PD with 4, Casa Grande with 4, and Gila River with 2. Those recruits started right here in this building 22 weeks ago. The recruits started training here in this facility for the second time ever since we've run an academy here in Gilbert. The recruit training officers taught them, and this is a quote from them, "You just keep going. Just push through the obstacles and never give up." The sergeant informed us that day during the graduation how well the second class had performed in their testing, and this academy, Gilbert Police Academy, now holds the 2 highest scores of all the test scores in the state of Arizona. So I think we have shown that we did a good thing with this building, and it is far exceeding my expectations. Congratulations to Class 2. Today, I was honored to serve as the MC at Phoenix Mesa Gateway for the tower dedication ceremony. The brand-new traffic control tower is now named the John S. McCain III, honors the tireless advocacy efforts by Senator McCain. This was a 15-plus years in the making, and thanks to many regional and elected leaders that helped to make this come to fruition. Thank you to all the members that joined me there today, and meeting adjourned. Thank you.